Hi everybody, this is Margaret. Thanks for stopping by my channel. You're on BookTube. I'm so happy to have you. So today, instead of a live book tag, you'll notice that I just have hashtag book tag, which sounds stupid to say. Oh well, moving on. But that is because I am pre-recording this double book tag because I'm going to be traveling. So I'm actually thinking ahead and doing this so that I can appease the monster and hopefully give you something to laugh at the same time. And I thought this particular combination of tags would be great because I'm going to be on a train as I air this. So I'm going to be training from Chicago to Boston along a lot of probably backyards. It's my Amtrak experience will tell me. So I'm going to start with the Interrail, Eurorail book tag by BookTime with Elvis. So it's a long one and there's lots of narration, so strap in. I was tagged by Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, and I'm going to tag up front for this today because why not? Martha at Self-Righteousness. I'll put their channels below. Larry Has Opinions, who has got me laughing lately. Lana at Lana Ex Libris, because I assume that people in Russia might be on trains more. I don't know. I was really combing my channels to try to find people who might have train experiences. And the last one is not a booktuber. Jay Draper, she's a TikToker. She's a tour guide in London, and she comes up with fascinating history tidbits. So I thought she might have some fascinating train history tidbits about London. So I thought I'd give her this opportunity to weigh in. Okay, prompt number 1. You begin your journey in London. Dr. Johnson said, when a man is tired of London, he is tired of life, for there is in London all that life can afford. What book can you read, reread, and read again and again throughout your life? And the first one that popped into my mind is what I went with, and that is Jane Eyre. I haven't read it lately, but I've certainly loved falling into its pages and getting swept away by the romance part, even though I know it's colonial and problematic these days. Sherlock Holmes lived at 221B Baker Street. Have you ever visited the home of an imaginary character, and if so, whose? So for several of these prompts, I'm going to point you to a very similar tag called the Literary Adventures tag, where I go into detail about lots of places that I have visited that have literary connections. So for fictional characters, I have been by 221B Baker Street because it's set up as a tourist trap. I didn't go in because that was the pay to go in thing, but I definitely took pictures outside. And you can check out that tag if you want to hear more. Harris asked me if I'd ever been in the maze at Hampton Court. That is a quote from Jerome K. Jerome. Oh, and it looks like the gardeners are here with the, I don't know, big engines, something making noise. Sorry about that. I had a lot to do before recording this today. Did you completely lose the plot and not have the slightest idea of what was going on? Please give an example. So to find this, I went to Goodreads and I sorted worst rated because this sounds like something that I would not rate well. And the first one that I came up with that seemed to fit the bill was The Mind of the South by W.J. Cash. It was actually a DNF for me several years ago, and I really wanted to understand it, but it just kept cycling in its own mud, and it just became grimy for me to read it, it felt like, so I DNF'd. When we go to St. Pancras and board the Eurostar to Paris, within a couple of hours you arrive at the Gare du Nord. And then we leap right into the Père Lachaise Cemetery is on your itinerary. Have you been there, or have you ever made a pilgrimage to any literary site? I can't remember if I've been to Père Lachaise. When I studied abroad in Paris, I was right next to the Cimetière Montparnasse, and so I may have skipped going to the more famous one. But again, if you want to hear about literary pilgrimages, go to my literary adventures tag that I will put in the cards. Next, we have, what are some of the best historical sites you visited? Once again, visit my other tag. Gertrude Stein famously said, America is my country and Paris is my hometown. What is your country? What town other than your own have you felt at home in? So my country is the US. That's the place where I can live and move around without feeling too constricted. That's sort of my definition these days. What town other than your own have you felt at home in? I would say I felt at home in DC when I lived there for 6 years. I've definitely felt at home in Paris when I was studying abroad, or also whenever I visit, I just fall right back in. And also, I will say a very brief day I spent in Glen Affric. I thought I could stay here. I could stay in this fairy glen indefinitely. And if you don't know where Glen Affric is, just look it up. It's the prettiest glen in Scotland. That's what it's billed as. Cafes are everywhere in Paris. I like to sit in one for a couple of hours, skimming through a book and people watching. If you have been to Paris, where is your favorite place to visit and favorite thing to do there? If you haven't been to Paris, would you like to, and what would you most like to see and do there? So I've got two sort of under the radar places that I recommend to people who are visiting Paris. And they are Les Arènes de Lutèce, which is on the left bank on the east side. It is the ruins of a Roman amphitheater. And when I was there in 2001, it was being used as like a neighborhood soccer pitch. It's not very big. And it's right down the street from the tea room, the like Moroccan tea room or Arabic tea room near the Grand Mosque. And so it was a nice place to go and chill. There's art galleries around there, stuff like that. So I find myself going back to there. As well as l'Allée des Cygnes, which is the Walk of the Swans. If you go to the Eiffel Tower and you take the metro to get there over the Seine, you will go over a certain bridge that connects to this little man-made island in the Seine. And it's something you can only walk down the stairs, a little trail. There's like a little exercise place. It just seems like the most enchanting location to be in the world at any time. So I definitely recommend that. And I'll put the little wiki links to the two places so you can grab an eyeful. After a few days of eating pain au chocolat and drinking one too many café au lait, you decide to head south. You head to the Gare de Lyon and board the train to Madrid. It will take you 11 hours and 26 minutes, and you will travel 654 miles, 1,052 kilometers. What is the longest train journey you have ever taken? And this is getting very detailed, Elvis. Not Elvis. Elvis is the pet, but Mark. I quickly looked up the ones that I thought might qualify. I've got, unfortunately, the top two are in the US, so maybe not as interesting. But I went from San Luis Obispo to Portland on a return trip, and that was 24, 25 hours, depending on what stopped us. I think we got stopped twice on that trip, so I'm going to call it 25 hours. Then the outbound trip for that was just Portland to Sacramento, which is 15 hours. Then the next one was my 2000 trip from Zagreb in Croatia to Prague. And that was a very exciting trip. I was very afraid. I woke up. I tried to talk to the conductor several times to make sure my ticket was right. Like, it was a disaster, but it turned out fine. And then the fourth one, let's see, that was 12 hours. And then the last one that is sort of on the scale would be London to Edinburgh, which is overnighter for just 9 hours. And those are pretty nice trains. So, yeah. Have you any favorite books or films set on trains? Not personally, but I will direct you to tripfiction.com's list of books set on trains. TripFiction is a book review site that specializes in books that have a sense of place, and so they organize their books by either where they're set or where the action is mostly set. And so I was doing some reviews there a few years ago and really liked how they worked, and they have a lot of great blog posts about this kind of thing. So I'm going to put that in the description as well. You are lucky that you can ride in comfort through France and over the Pyrenees into Spain, unlike Captain Jack Aubrey, post captain, who had to don a bear suit and answer to the name of Flora to cross the mountains. Now, I am unfamiliar with this reference because, unlike Brian at Bookish, I have not read through all the Aubrey Maturin novels, but at least I know the series he's referring to. And when I think about someone answering to the name of Flora to evade capture, I think of Bonnie Prince Charlie, of course. So, yeah. Does anyone know that story? Does anyone get that reference? He actually didn't answer to the name of Flora. He answered to the name of Barbara, I think. And Flora was his guide to leave. And that is the source of that song, the Sky Boat song. Anybody know this one? Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, over the sea to sky. Does it sound familiar? Does it sound like it's from Outlander? They do a version of it. Carry the man that's bound to be king, over the sea to sky. It's a really beautiful song. And that's about a manhunt / someone evading capture. So I encourage you to look that one up. The Spanish national anthem famously does not have any words. If you have seen them singing at football matches, they are really just humming along to a tune. What is your favorite instrumental-only piece of music? Are you prone to whistling? An instrumental-only piece of music, the first one that popped to mind is what I will go with. It is the Swan Lake theme, and especially that really, I think it's the evil magician part maybe, but the really dramatic theme that is used for Billy Elliot. And I think it's when they're playing a cassette of Swan Lake and they're in the car, him and his teacher, and they're going over a ferry. So if anyone knows what I'm talking about, that scene. So yeah, Swan Lake theme song from Billy Elliot. And I'm going to pop a link down below to see Swan Lake performed by the Kirov? Let's go with that. Kirov Ballet on YouTube because that might be fun. And as far as whistling goes, I can only do it going in and I can't whistle a tune. So alas, alas. Cronus, Saturn Devouring His Son by Francisco Goya is, to my mind, one of the most disturbing paintings I have seen. You can see it too if you visit the Prado Museum in Madrid. What is one of the most disturbing books and or paintings you have seen? I don't have a disturbing book or painting because I'm sure my brain does the work of wiping those out of my mind. So I'm going to go with a movie I can remember, which is Pan's Labyrinth. Gave me nightmares, and I won't watch it again because it'll do it again. So I just remember that, and we move on. Watching Cronus having his dinner has given you an appetite, so you repair to a restaurant to try Spain's national dish, the paella. If I were to visit your hometown, what restaurant would you take me to, and what would be the dish you would most recommend? All right, Mark. So Portland, my current living town, is known most for its like vegan denizens, I think. So like vegan pizza and donuts definitely like started as a thing here, the modern version. And fusion cuisine is very big. But I think what I would take you to if I was going to like go all out and treat you would be Coquine. It's a modern New American, what they call New American cuisine restaurant. It's rather pricey, but that's because they go for local organic ingredients. They have chefs that whip them up into amazing creations, and like everything is its own little celebration on a plate, and they really do justice to what people have put time and work into. And so I really value that. And so that's what I would like to represent the New American cuisine. So there you go. We will pause in our journey for now, but if you have enjoyed it up to now, we will continue in the near future. Tag some people, edit, change, add as needed. Next time we'll move further west on the Iberian Peninsula and head to Portugal. So I'm not going to edit. That's my interrail, Eurail tag. Thank you, Alan. And for the people I named at the beginning, Martha, Larry, Lana, and Jay Draper, have at it. Have fun with some train-themed prompts. Feel free to add them. Okay, next one we're going to dive into is the Your Answer Can't Be Books. And on this one, I don't have to keep referring to another video. So This is originally by BookBuds, which is a great channel. I was tagged by another bibliophile reads and Jim's books reading and stuff because I was not fast enough. So let's go. Prompt number 1, what is something that you own way too many of other than books? Well, I've got scarves. I've got costumes. I've got paper. I've got stamps. And I've got prints. Not that prints. Scarves are very useful, especially for someone who gets cold in air conditioning. So this started when I worked in office environment and has continued along with my fashion sense. Costumes, as I've said before, I worked in a costume shop and I love dressing in costumes for writing and author events because it gives a little extra flair. So costumes, paper, writer needs paper, stamps, they just seem so useful if you're going to be a letter writer. So I kept them from when I was a kid and my mom doesn't use them anymore. So I rated them last time I went down home and they're here now. So if you're on my Christmas card list, look for some stamps. And prints, I have not only prints that I collected traveling as a college student because they were cheap, but prints from my great aunt who passed away last year, and she was a very prolific artist, collage, and paint. And there were lots of beautiful ones, but I don't have enough room on my walls, nor do I have enough money to frame them. So frame them nicely. So yeah, so I have prints that I'm not doing justice to, unfortunately, but I do like looking at them. They're vertical piled in front of the books. Okay, prompt number 2. What is something that you do for fun that's not reading a book? Is there anything fun that's not reading a book? Of course there is. I like walking without reading. I like foraging, which I read to make sure I do safely. I love dancing, which doesn't involve books. I like cooking and baking, which I usually have to use books for. And of course, reorganizing my books. See how I'm working this in here? I'm being clever. Prompt number 3, what is something special or important on your nightstand that's not a book? Well, on my nightstand, I have a lamp so that I can read. I have a water bottle usually in case someone decides to turn the water off and not tell me, which happened before. So now I have this trauma response of filling the kettle and filling the water bottle every night. And there's a little candle that smells really good. And there's a dream journal because I often wake up and have dreams that I can remember a point to. And so I'll write it down in messy writing and see if there's anything good there to come back to. There you go. Prompt number 4, what's something that you buy at a bookstore other than books? Definitely cards, definitely candles, but I have a little rant to include with candles. I went to, the type of store that sells secondhand things, but sells them at new prices and then puts new things in between so you can't really tell what's you can tell what's vintage, but anyway, there's stores like this all over in Portland. And I went into one and they had a whole candle display. The company of the candles was called Imaginary Authors. And what they did was do a scent profile for dead authors, I guess. And was it dead authors? No, they're imaginary authors. Anyway, so I got a bookmark from this because I couldn't believe that they were doing it. Because it just seems like such a missed opportunity. This company is going to make money doing luxury candles about imaginary authors when they could do it for real authors that people like. And I was just yeah, because that just felt like a gut punch. We need imaginary authors because y'all authors out there aren't good enough. I mean, the candles smell good, but okay, rant over. Prompt number 5. What's a fun gift that you've received that wasn't a book or a gift card for books? Ooh, shirts all the time. Family members and friends get me shirts that are fun with graphic tees. Plants. My mom is a specialist with arranging succulents in a beautiful ceramic planter, so that's a fun thing. And a ring light. A certain special sister got me a ring light when it was the pinch point of getting my videos done well, and it's been happily ever after since then. So thank you, Kathy. Prompt number 6, what's a YouTube channel that you watch that's not related to books? Okay, so I've said these before because these have been in other tags. I might have one or two different. Crooked Media, they're a great news source and they're really funny. Thames TV Archive, they do old TV footage from the 40s on to about the 90s, and they often highlight things that are historical issues that keep cropping up, and especially because it's based in the UK, that's relevant for me. Scotland History Tours, that's Bruce Schwamy. He speaks a little Gaelic. He takes us through Scotland history. He makes it funny. He's a bit of a dad jokester, but he's doing a great job doing his own company, being a tour guide, and highlighting history for people, which I love. And number 4, Lena Norms, who is a sensation. She has a marvelous Patreon experience going on, but she also does some book videos, but most of her stuff is like sustainability, fashion, surviving your 20s. She's just a delight of a non-edited voice. I mean, she edits her videos impeccably, but her voice is very authentic. So that's what I love about Lena Norms. Prompt number 7, tag 5 booktubers that you want to learn more about. Well, I did 4 before, and I'm going to do 4 here because that's what we're doing today. So I've got Leah Lindemann, who's a fellow author. Her channel's name is Pen to Paper, and I just really liked one of her videos, and so I'd like to know more about her. I'm going to put down Aoife at Words of Clover because she always talks about books, but it'd be interesting to hear her other answers. I've got Jack at Spread Book Joy because she's a teacher who does children's books. That's what mostly I hear about. She's done several tags with several fascinating tangents as well, so that would be great. And another new one, Camilla at Hasty Books. So in case anyone doesn't get that, hasty back means come back soon for Scots, and it's a play on words. So she's a Scottish booktuber that I've just found out about and started watching. So I'd love to find out more about Camilla. So those are my tags. Those are my train trivias, and I'm sorry for the outside noise. That's what we have today for you. All right. Thanks, and I will see you on the other side, Boston, very soon.